Well, we now have a GOP platform in the great state of Texas, and boy, it's got some interesting things in it. Okay, now, rightwingwatch.org has found the different parts of the plank that they have that are a bit disconcerting. Now, for some conservatives, they might be perfectly happy with this. Let's start with some things that you're not going to be surprised by, and then go to things that anybody's got to be surprised by. All right, first of all, they're in favor of abolishing the Federal Reserve, of course, the Environmental Protection Agency, Transportation Security Administration, and Department of Education and Energy. Are there any departments left? So basically, they want to take out about a third of the executive branch. Like, education. Who needs it? Well, we'll get back to education and how Texas wants to do education a little bit later, because they also address that. And obviously, they think that this doesn't need to be done at the federal level. I certainly have a huge problems with the Federal Reserve and how it's run. I don't know about abolishing it, but I'm not surprised by any of those. I was surprised at their attack on voting rights in different ways. Now, one way we know about, they say that we should repeal the Voting Rights Act. Now, the Voting Rights Act makes sure that minorities can vote because, of course, there was a history of not making it inordinately difficult for them to vote. Obviously, Texas believes that they are beyond that. And plus, if they pass all the laws that are in their plank, well, then you'd have to renew your ID every 4 years. You'd have to have a photo ID, all the things that discriminate against not just minorities, but more poor people. They think poor people vote more Democratic, so they want to make sure that less of them vote. If you don't have a car, well, hey, you don't have a driver's license. Oh, sorry, you don't have photo ID, you can't vote. It actually affects a shocking number of people who then would have their voting rights stripped away from them. Great. Now, another way that they want to become more undemocratic is they want to repeal the 17th Amendment. What does the 17th Amendment do? It's the direct election of U.S. senators. So they want to go back to state legislators picking the senators instead of direct elections. Why? Well, I guess it's easier to control the state legislatures and easier. Honestly, I think all of this leads to just further corruption. And then the third part of the corruption is even though they're against direct election of senators, they insist on direct election of judges. Why? Okay, I'll tell you why. Because once you allow for money in politics and you do direct election of judges, it's so easy to buy those seats. You just have corporations or crony capitalists pump in a ton of money to a particular race. One judge swamps the race with others. That judge then winds up giving pro-corporate, pro-business decisions that he got financed to make. So then they wind up buying all the judges. Now, it's easier to do corruption if the state houses apparently pick their senators according to them, right? Now, of course, they don't say that. They say, no, we're with the people. But don't let them vote for senators and make sure that we can bribe the politicians. See, look, if I think that real conservatives wanted this in Texas, okay, let's have a debate over it. But this is leadership who's directing things towards their advantage. Yeah, I don't want the people of Texas to pick the senators. I want to pick the senators is basically what Republican leadership in Texas is saying here. And I want my buddies in the corporate world who finance me to pick the judges. It's a nightmare and by the way, the one thing I don't want is the actual voters picking them. That's why I want to repeal the Voting Rights Act and make it much harder to vote with all the other parts of the plank. Okay, so that's part one. Part two is science and education. They are against the teaching the controversial theory of evolution. On the other hand, the completely non-controversial Judeo-Christian heritage they think should be taught more. So the guy walking on water, the guy talking to the bush, the guy with the miracle virgin birth, they said none of that is controversial at all and should be taught to the kids. But science that shows you how things actually work, pretty controversial. We're going to have to see if we're in favor of that or not. Now, when it comes to science, of course, they also want to make sure that there is no money to fund global climate change initiatives, so keep it burning. Keep the planet burning. Don't you dare do anything to change that. Of course, there's a lot of oil companies in Texas. It's unsurprising that they would be in favor of that. Then we go to guns. They say the state should be able to ignore federal gun laws. That's convenient. So same conservatives who say, like, I can't believe you're allowing those states to smoke pot. That's outrageous. There's federal laws against that. Federal laws in favor of guns. Who cares? Ignore those. States' rights, okay? And they also believe that there should be a constitutional state militia that should be established and maintained. As if there aren't enough guns in Texas, that's fantastic. Then we go to vaccinations, and they have an anti-vaccination stance that allows for the freedom of families to reject vaccinations. That's great, spread more disease through Texas. Okay, now we get finally to my favorite one. These are the planks on social issues. They support reparative therapy and treatment to patients who are seeking escape from the homosexual lifestyle. Reparative therapy is nonsense, has been proven to be absolute pseudoscience. There's nothing behind it. It doesn't work. It actually adds psychological trauma to the people who seek therapy under that guise. It's ridiculous and it's absolutely traumatic. They want to repeal hate crime statutes. Okay, and then here comes my favorite parts. They want to make sure that there are no laws passed for any form of reparations. Was that really on the docket? Was reparations for slavery? I didn't realize that Texas was considering that. But they're doing a preemptive strike here to make sure, hey man, there will be no reparations. You understand that? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And then they say there will also be no Sharia law here, except for the one we talked about earlier when we do Sharia law with the Judeo-Christian heritage being taught to the kids, right? But when it comes to Muslims, no Sharia law. I know, because Texas was on the verge of being taken over by Muslims. So this is very encouraging. And finally, my absolute favorite one, they want to make sure that they cut funding to special interest groups like ACORN. ACORN doesn't exist anymore. It got wiped out in 2010 by Republicans. They cut its funding. The Democrats went along with it. ACORN's gone. Hasn't been around for 4 years. But just in case, it's both kind of a attack in hindsight and preemptively. Just in case ACORN thinks about coming back again, we're going to cut its funding. It doesn't have funding. It doesn't even exist anymore. And by the way, of course, Texas is also against Agenda 21 from the United Nations. This is the thing where they think that the United Nations is going to force us all into Hobbit homes. Okay, that was for Ted Cruz's, on Ted Cruz's website. They believe this, okay? And they're going to make us dig until we release the Balrog. Okay, so they're against Agenda 21, against Hobbit homes, and also, of course, they think the United Nations should be banished and it should be kicked off of U.S. soil. This is the wonderful plank of the GOP in Texas. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Who are you going to support? I mean, you got Democrats like the Clintons knee-deep in Goldman Sachs, and then you turn to the Republicans, and you've got this kind of madness. Where the hell do we go, man? That's why you got to reform the system completely.